Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Attract and Stand Out podcast. I'm your host, and I am so excited for today's guest. I have with me one of my beautiful, smart, brilliant, amazing friends, Kristina Green. She is a marketing consultant specializing in small business needs. Kristina has worked with hundreds of small business owners from around the world to create their copy, websites, and marketing that connects with their clients. Kristina's career spans 15 years in communications and marketing for nonprofits and for-profits. And after coaching many others on how to best utilize social media for their businesses, she founded True Blue Marketing in 2016. Today, Kristina brings her experience in nonprofits, fundraising, print publications, journalism, copywriting, copy coaching, and web design to her work with clients to teach them to market their business in authentic and sustainable ways. Kristina, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here today. Before we kind of dive in, I just want to check in. A lot is happening in the world these days. We're still in the middle of a pandemic, and we just finished the election, and so many things have been happening. How are you? How's your family doing?
We're doing pretty well, all things considered. I have a couple kids, and the schedules have been a little bit much to juggle, but that's the worst of it. And so thankful that we've done so well with it, and definitely thinking about everybody who's not doing as well as us. And I've been trying to find ways to give back, especially we just had the Thanksgiving holidays and going into December. So really doing well and thankful for that, but also thinking of others who are not doing quite as well.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're doing well. And it's one of those times, right, where we're thankful that we're in a good situation and a good place. And then there's so much going on in the world that we have to sit back and just kind of take in everything that's happening and be thankful for what we have, but then also be able to give to others and support them and send lots of love and light into the world as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell our listeners a little bit about who you are. Tell us where you live. I know you have two beautiful girls, if you want to share a little bit about them, and an amazing husband, but catch us up a little bit on who you are and where you live.
Sure. So I live in Maine, in the northeast of the US. We are just going into the winter season here, which is a real deal LL Bean catalog kind of place. I have two kids. They are 9 and 6 right now, which is incredible to think they're so big. That's amazing. My husband is, lives here with us, of course, part of our family. And and I think that, more about me and where I live. I've been in Maine my whole life, which is kind of unusual. Just live in the same state, go to school in the same state, and it's a beautiful place. So I'm pretty happy about staying here.
Yeah, it looks beautiful there. We've talked about this before, but I've never been to Maine. So one of these days I'm going to go and visit Kristina and visit the beautiful area of Maine, because I see so many amazing movies, and the scenery there looks like it's so beautiful. And I'm in California, which it's gorgeous here too, but it's different. It's that different feel, that different vibe. So, and I'm totally jealous that you're going into winter, because, California, we kind of get winter. It's not quite what you describe as winter though. So super jealous of all the snow you're probably going to get, which maybe I shouldn't be jealous for. Maybe you should want to be here where there's no snow. I'm not sure. I don't shovel snow in the mornings. And luckily with the pandemic, most of us aren't leaving our houses. So maybe that won't be as much of an issue this year, but
Yeah, it's funny. And so as an adult in Maine, I grew up here, as a kid, the snow is oh my gosh, this is great. We can go play and, do snow angels and all the fun stuff in it. And then as an adult, the first snow was beautiful, absolutely picturesque movie beautiful. And then after, by the time you get to February, then you're oh my gosh, it's snowing again. And then by the time you get to April, you're it's still snowing. You're just, I am ready to leave for, please stop. I'm just so ready to go somewhere else. So California would sound fantastic between February and April. Yeah. The first snow is so lovely.
Yeah, I can imagine. I get to sneak off occasionally to the mountains to actually play in the snow. I'll usually go do at least one snow day per season, where the kids and I and my husband will just load up snacks, and we'll take we just bought one of those little snow what are they called? Like the little things that you sit on and like go down the mountain on, like a sled. I guess it's a sled. It's not like an old school fashion one, like the new age ones where it's almost like a boogie board. And we bought it 2 seasons ago and we've yet to use it. So I'm hoping this year that we actually get to the snow, because last year we didn't get up there at all. So, but it's fun. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to go up and be in the mountains and see all the snow and the trees. So hopefully this season I'll get up there. If not, I'll live vicariously through you and your pictures.
Okay. I'll send you pictures. Yeah.
That works. Well, let's dive in a little bit and find out about your business. So I love to hear stories of how women grow their businesses and start this new career path. So I'd love to know, like, what was it about becoming an entrepreneur that really called to you, and how did you get started on this journey?
That's a great, I love this question because it's so interesting how people get into their businesses and start them. So I used to do, as you said in my bio, I used to do work in nonprofits and communications, and I worked with a lot of marketing stuff. And I left it in the fall of 2013. It made sense with my family, and my older daughter was 2 at the time, and I really missed being around her. And so I left that working for somebody else. And then within a few weeks, my brother-in-law, we've been joking for like a decade about, someday he's going to start this business that he loves, and, maybe I could help him. And so it actually started to happen. And so we worked together, and I helped him create this first business that I still co-own and still around. And I ran that for a few years. And after a while, I was introducing myself at networking events and everything, talking about the business and kind of talking, you can't see me right now, but kind of talking my hands low and not moving very much. And if you know me, I talk with my hands all the time. And so then people would ask me about if you, what did you do before this? And so I start talking about marketing and communications and social media and all this stuff that I used to work in. And people would be like, so why aren't you doing that now? Like, why did you leave that? And I realized after several people telling me this at networking events that maybe I need to get back into it. Like, maybe this is really where my heart is. And so I started a marketing business and kind of felt my way through it. Like I didn't really know who I wanted to work with in particular in the beginning. I didn't really know where I should be going, and but I just kind of started and then learned from there what people need and how to customize my skill set, and learned a lot along the way.
Yeah. I think you're not alone in that. So many people I talk to, they start this business and they're not exactly sure who the heck they're supposed to be working with, where they're supposed to find their dream clients. And that's one of the things that I talk a lot with my clients, getting really clear and specific for who they want to work with, and knowing, who's their dream client so that we can attract those people in. What do you think it was for you that really helped you hone in on determining who those people were?
I think it was a few things. In the very beginning, I had started a small business, and I knew people in small businesses. And so it was kind of a natural place to start with other small businesses. But after working for a while in there, I realized that my people they're ready to just do things, be nimble with their business, kind of pivot a little bit and try something new, and not take it personally if it doesn't quite work, like a new marketing, idea or campaign, but learn from it over and over again. And I realized that that really helps me find my people. If somebody is very set in how they have to do things and they just want to have it better in that way, they may not be my person. But kind of getting in there and having a few conversations, it's okay, what have you tried? Tell me about it. And I can kind of figure out if they fit that type of personality where people are ready to learn, try something, pivot a little bit, make it work for them, find what naturally fits them for marketing, and then continue to grow from there.
Yeah. And it's so important, I feel too, to really dive in and test the waters, test and measure what's working for you, play around with who you're talking to and the messaging that you're using, because especially in the beginning, you're kind of finding your way and you're trying to figure out does this work? And then you're oh, this worked great. Awesome. I'm going to do more of this. Or that's when you find out ooh, this isn't working and I'm spending a lot of time doing it, or I hate doing it and I don't want to do this anymore. And then people torture themselves for usually months too long when they're doing something they don't like, because they feel they have to follow through with it or they should continue doing it. but you have to listen to your gut. And if you know something's working, like go for that. But if you know something's not working too, like being willing to pivot and change and try new things before you spend, hours of your time doing something that you don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of my favorites too, that I like to help people out of is when they've been doing something that works well, but is so against what they like naturally do well for marketing. They're doing this one thing and it's getting them lots of people, and it may not be the people they want, but they feel like it's justified because they're getting some people in the door.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you can pivot, like you're just saying, like pivot a little bit, change it up a little bit, and then find what really fits them and pulls in the people that they want, not just more people coming in,
Yeah.
then that's really exciting too.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that, because you're right. Like it's about finding ways that feel good to you, that light you up and excite you, so that you want to get out of bed in the morning. You're excited to go to work. Like we start these businesses, right? Because we're excited, we're passionate. And if we make it into a mundane job again, where we're doing stuff we don't like and we aren't excited anymore, then it makes it hard to show up. And when we do it in a way that feels good to us, in a way that actually excites us, that's when we're like, oh, like we can actually be successful at this. We don't have to try as hard and do all the yucky stuff that we used to have to do in like our corporate jobs or and other places. Like we get to like start with us and figure out and determine what we want to do and how we want to show up, and then do more of that, and then kind of fine tune it as you're testing and measuring to see how that's going to look and what it's going to look like.
And like amazingly, we can just have fun with it. Like we can choose to have fun with the services we offer and how we market it. And that is really exciting to, to talk with somebody and say, hey, oh, you're good at this. Let's do it a lot more. Like whatever's lighting you up, let's do more of that.
Yeah. And it's so easy to do work when it's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm always telling my clients, I'm like, well, what do you want to do? Like, what types of marketing strategies do you want to use? And they're like, oh, I get to choose. And you're like, yeah, you get to choose. Like, if you don't want to do it anymore, don't do it. If you want to do it, do it. So tell us a little bit about the type of work that you do with your clients then.
Yeah, so I do basically two different categories of work with clients. One is where I work as a consultant. And so I'll work with companies basically as their marketing department or marketing manager, come into the team, usually just one or two people, and kind of step in and work with them to figure out their marketing, getting the pieces together and actually making it happen. And I love to keep that piece of my business going, because I feel like working with people already, like right now, and being there while things are changing in the marketing world, especially the digital marketing world, is really important for the other part of my business, which is where I coach people on how to write copy that works for their business, how to update their websites so they work for their business, and how to do the marketing that suits them and their business. So I feel like I could, some people go with one or the other, the consulting or the coaching piece. And I find that I need both to really keep myself up to date on everything and informed with what I'm telling my clients. And because it changes, like every 6 months, things are changing with digital marketing. And if I'm not in it and, doing Google ads and running, various things and creating new content with my consulting clients, I feel like I'm not really giving the best value to my coaching clients.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit then with like your clients that are doing that come to you for copywriting and getting help with putting their words together, right? For how they're going to message to people. What does that relationship look like for how you work with them? And then I would love to maybe even dive in a little bit to like, what are some of the tips and tricks that entrepreneurs are looking for when they're trying to figure out their voice, right? Like I know for myself, I struggled a lot in the beginning because I was trying to do what I saw everybody else doing. I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do. So how do you help your clients find their voice in a way that helps them like really attract people to them?
Yeah. So I tend to sit down with them and like just have a few conversations, and where I'm taking furious notes is the journalist in me. But where I sit down and kind of look at like what you've done, what you like, what your ideal clients, who they are, where they are online and in person. We kind of get all the pieces together, and then we start to say like, oh, if in the past this person has like been on Facebook for all their marketing And what they do is a very like business to business type of thing. And they work with, corporate people. Like we're like, like it looks like you're, maybe where you are is not the best fit for your ideal clients, but also like the tone of the copy you're using may not be like what you would put on Facebook, could be very, very different from like what you're putting on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And yeah, like dramatically different. And so we kind of look at what, who they're working with, the kind of business that they have, and then digging into like what their people are seeing and meeting their people where they are, wherever they are. So in person, online, wherever that fits, where their ideal clients are, and then finding the copy that works for that group of people. And one of my favorite tips to share with people is to keep a scratch doc. I like Google Docs and Evernote for various things, but what I do in that is anytime I'm working with people, talking with people, and I hear somebody say something that is like, oh, like that's a really interesting way of phrasing that, I'm going to write it down in my scratch doc. But then if I hear somebody else say that same thing, like a week or two later, totally different person, that's like, like I might go back and write that in again with a little bit different, the same kind of idea. And then I know if it's somebody's like, I've had several different people say this new phrase for something that's either the service they want or what they need, results, their pain points. I know I need to be updating my copy a little bit. Like that's when kind of like the 3 to 5 times that I hear different people say this, that's when I start going like, like that's when I need to update something. And when I hear like 10 to 20 people saying it, it's like that's been a major shift in my ideal clients, either who I'm talking to, and I've learned how to get like narrow my focus and talk more into what their needs are, or it's been like a market shift that's happened a little bit. If like a year ago, people would be talking about doing a lot of in-person networking events, and like that's the way to, but like now we're in 2020, like you can't be doing a lot of in-person networking events in a lot of places in the US anyway. And so there are market shifts like that, but then there are little copy shifts, and being aware of all of the pieces and how we adjust the copy that we're writing to appeal to our ideal clients. I love getting in and seeing the little pieces. So that scratch doc is huge for tracking everything and for being able to make the changes as they happen. So you're evolving your copy with evolving business and with your evolving ideal clients. So they're all supporting your business.
I love that tip, because that's one of the things that I do if I'm on the call with somebody, or if I'm having a conversation out at an event or something like that. If I hear them phrase something, I call it liquid gold. I'm like, I need to write that down. It's liquid gold. I can use this in my marketing and my messaging. Sometimes it's a blog post topic idea because of like a question they ask or a way they say something. And I'm like, ooh, like this is like perfect types of content. And I totally agree, especially if you hear it over and over again. Like, it's like, oh, like things are shifting, like my people are seeing something different. And then one of the things that I was talking recently with a client about too is a lot of times especially in the coaching industry, like consulting side of things, like we get these amazing clients, we get these amazing testimonials from clients. And a lot of times my clients were struggling with trying to use their testimonials for part of their like copy. And one of the biggest disconnects I was telling them that I was seeing with them was that like you're using words like after they've worked with you. What were the words they used when they came to you though? That was your liquid gold. Like when they first came to you, what were their big struggles? What problems were they having? What pain points were they talking about? Or what benefits do they even want to have? Like, what are they trying to accomplish in life? Like those are the things that you want to use in the beginning. So I love like the idea of the scratch document where they can just keep that log of all the different things that they're hearing, especially in the beginning, to use in their copy and their messaging to attract those people in, because they shift so much, right? Like when you finish working with a client, they've changed so much in that time with you that they're totally different, maybe not totally different, but a lot of their stuff is different. And that you can't use those words anymore. You have to go back to like, what was it the reason they came to you for? Because you've solved that problem for them now.
Right.
So that's a great tip.
I mean, if you use copy that's the testimonial of, the phrases that people are using after they work with you, you'll be attracting people who are already at that end point, like already with the results. But if you use the copy that's for the people that you haven't worked with, that's when you're going to be pulling in them, attracting them more.
Yeah. And it's funny because so many people always try to use that in person. And they're like, I'm attracting all these people to me and they don't need my services. Like they're already like, they're like, they need the next level service, which I'm not teaching that. I'm teaching this. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's go back to what you have on your website. And like, oh yeah, you're speaking directly to somebody that you already helped. You need to go back to that, like that first person. I'm super curious on your thoughts on this. A lot of my clients always say, well, I'm my ideal client, or I was my ideal client 2 years ago or 2 weeks ago, or whatever that is. What are your thoughts when people say that to you?
Usually I'd say, great, like that's so good. You understand them so well and you really know what their pain points are. So you need to go back to that very, very same point and figure it out. But the interesting thing is that like for that particular person, they had something different going on with them that brought them from being that ideal client to today. So I feel like they're maybe like 85 to 90% there of their ideal client, but it may be like a little bit different. Like there's something else that brought that person, like down the journey to who they are today, that their ideal clients maybe on a parallel journey are almost exactly the same, but it's going to be a little bit different. And so getting to, like, for me, at least the copy piece, getting to the copy and the words that work takes a lot of, I almost feel like it takes more work for the people who've been there, because you have to like pull everything that's happened to you personally between that point and now, like out of your own head. And to be able to look at, like, put yourself back in that position is really, really difficult. So it feels like that could be even more challenging in a way, to source that copy from that point before the transformation for their clients, not for like who they were then.
Yeah. And we forget, right? Like when we're going through these journeys, like some of us grow leaps and bounds quickly, and then others go, at a slower pace. And sometimes you go through that process, it's been years or it happened so quickly and you're like, I don't even remember who I was back then. So I like that you say that you can pull some of it, but then like there's also like the other piece where you have to actually go out there, right, and talk to people who are your ideal clients and pull that information from them. And it might trigger for you some of the stuff that you might have forgotten. And maybe that's maybe the connecting piece too. You're like, when I know for myself, when I have conversations with ideal clients, like I can pull back some of those memories and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember what it was like. Like I totally remember like feeling like I was talking to everybody in the world. When I became a business coach, like the first networking events that I would go to, I would be like, hi, I'm Darlene, I'm a business coach. And my audience has probably heard me say this a million times, but they would ask me like, oh, what kind of sport do you coach? And I'm like, no, I'm a business coach. I'm not no, not like what? But I was speaking, like I was like, not everybody back in 2007 knew what a business coach was. It wasn't as popular of a term. Obviously now it's pretty mainstream. Like everybody knows what a business coach is. But back then it was still on the newer spectrum. And then because I was talking, I'm like, I could coach every single business in the whole entire world. What kind of business do you have? I can coach you. Instead of getting like clear and specific and niching down to like who those people that I actually wanted to work with were. And that was like game changing for me when I like finally did niche down. And I actually was like, oh, like I want to speak directly to this type of person, not to everybody, because we all know like when we talk to everybody, we're really talking to nobody because they're not paying any attention to us, because they're not like hearing their name called or a descriptive word about themselves or an industry that they're in, or sometimes a demographic or the pain points and the feelings that they're having. Like we're not talking directly to those points, and they're not paying attention. They're like, oh, that's cool. That's awesome that you do that, darling. Great. And then they're like off to the next thing. And so many people I know struggle with that because they're just afraid to niche down. They're afraid to get like really clear with who they want to work with.
Yeah. And the part that I feel like is really missing with that, when people are so afraid to niche down, is like they're missing how compelling the copy can be with just those few details. I call them like the three must-have details about your clients, in that like your pitch and your introduction that you have for people. But that it can go so far just to showing them that you truly understand them, because like, I mean, everybody's crazy busy right now. Like stuff is going all over the place, but like what most people really want deep down is to feel understood by somebody. And so if you can take the time to really decide who you're going to work with, decide who you want to work with, and then truly understand that person, it's like an instant click with them when you talk about how, you see them where they are. Basically, that's like a lot of the copy is like, I see you. I see what's going on for you. I see where you want to go. I know the exact path you want to take. And that goes so much further than, what's your business? I can help you with that. And because I feel like a lot of people go through that journey too. Because you can, a lot of people can help anybody at any point, but it's not very, it's not very, motivating or convincing when you meet somebody who says, oh, I can help with whatever, versus, oh, I helped somebody with that last week. Here's your next step. I know where you want to go.
Yeah.
Truly getting them.
Yeah. I love it. Like the ICU, like most business entrepreneurs, especially, like we can feel really lonely and isolated in our businesses. And when you can bring people in and let them know, like, hey, I see you, I hear you, I understand what's going on. I've been there, and here's some things that I've done. Here's some tips and tricks, and like helping them just feel like they're not alone, and that there's other people that have gone through the path they've been before, or gone before them, if I can say that properly. But it's nice to know sometimes, because it can be lonely. Like, especially, I know this year I've talked to so many people who they're working from home. They're not going out to networking events anymore. They're not seeing people in the office or going to co-working spaces or those different things. And it can be isolating. We're in our house, we're, virtually schooling kids. Some of our husbands or spouses are home, some of them are not. Like, some of the things have changed so much. And when we can feel like you have that little bit of community, and that somebody else understands who you are and what you're doing, it like takes that pressure off your shoulders. It's like, oh, like I'm not alone. Like other people have the same story going in their head, or these same thoughts going too, like that you can get the support that you need to. And when you can message it in a way that they don't feel alone anymore, it really calls them in, and it makes them feel like they're a part of something, which is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally does. I mean, so many people right now are just craving somebody who understands them, and showing that you do is like, it used to be, pretty meaningful. And now it's like next level. Like everybody needs somebody who can see them and understand them and help them with what they need.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I'm curious, so you've had a couple of businesses now, like you have two businesses that you're in today. What have been, or what would you say is one of the hardest things you've had to overcome as a business owner?
Probably, it's a really good question. I think probably it was the fear of failure. When you work for somebody else, even if something doesn't go well, you usually have a backup plan, and like there's other people on the team, and things can still happen. But when it's you running your business and you're one person or two people, there's not a whole lot of room for error. And I feel like running a business, you end up failing a lot before you find the one area that is really, really well suited to you and really well suited to your ideal clients. And so knowing there's going to be a failure here, there's going to be a failure there, and there's nobody else in the team who's just picking up and going, just getting over that. And that used to seem like one of the worst things to me, just so scary that what if this doesn't work? What will happen? There's nobody else there to help. There's nothing. But I've come to learn that all of the failures that happen, it's just another step along the journey toward where I need to be. And so it's, there are a bunch of failures that happen before you get to, your place in your business, that everything, maybe not everything, but most things are clicking in and it makes sense. So I think if I were to go back and talk to the me who started this business in 2016, or the me who started my other business in 2013, I'd say that there's going to be failures, real deal. There's going to be failures, but knowing it's just a growth opportunity, and look at it, review it, bring an analytical mind to it, and then take what you've learned and apply it to something else.
Yeah. I forget the name of the book, but it made me think of that book. I think it's called Failing Forward, where every single time that you fail, or it doesn't go the way that you think it's going to, or you get told no by a prospect, or if something doesn't land, or whatever, like it's taking you that one step closer to getting where you're trying to go. So yeah.
It's accurate.
And I was just listening to something this morning even, and they were talking about Thomas Edison. It's Thomas Edison. Is that the right one that made the light bulb? I think so. But they were saying that like he took 1,000 tries to get the light bulb to work. And they were like, he's like, I guess the person that interviewed him had said like, you failed 1,000 times. And he's like, I didn't fail 1,000 times. It took 1,000 tries to get the light bulb to where it needed to be to work. He's like, it was like 1,000-step process to figure out how the light bulb worked. And I was like, that makes so much sense, because like every day we're learning, like we're taking action, we're trying new things, we're putting ourselves out there, we're doing things that scare us, right? Like one of my mantras is I do scary things. Like every time I do something scary, it's getting me that much closer to where I'm trying to go. And it may not work out the way that I planned for it to, or the way that I would like it to every single time, but it's getting us there. And it's like, the stepping stones, you're taking one step forward, and sometimes you might fall off the stone, but you just get back up and do it again and keep going. And eventually you'll get where you're trying to go.
Yeah. And where you think you're trying to go may not be where you should end up, really, and that's an interesting, way that I've just like started to see it too. Where, I think I'm going that way and then over to the left, but then the stepping stones end up taking me a little bit over to the right, a little more over to the right, but it's a much better place for me. And I love the 1,000 steps to the right thing perspective.
Yeah. It gives like a new idea. Like we beat ourselves up so much, right? Like when we're told, no, I don't want to work with you, or no, you can't be a guest on my podcast, or like what, or no, we already have a speaker for this position. Like we don't need anybody anymore. Like those are all things that you put yourself out there. You gave it your best shot. You did something scary. You took that step, and sometimes it's not always the right step. And like you said, like sometimes you're trying to get over here, but life's going to happen. God, the universe, like there's so many factors that pull into things, and we get to make choices along the path too. Like sometimes we come to a fork in the road, and we might choose to go left when we were supposed to go right, or we might thought we were supposed to go right, but we went left anyways. And then it's so much better when we get to the other side. So
yeah, exactly.
What would you say has been one of like your greatest successes in your business?
It's another really good question, Darlene.
I'm amazing at these questions. Come on.
You are. Yeah. I think probably, I feel like one of the greatest successes, and it's not something that's like a specific program or a specific type of like offer I've had, but I hadn't realized it's a realization I had. I hadn't realized before I started doing this business that I liked sitting down one-on-one with people and like workshopping through copy and having these big discussions about like what this really means for your business. I hadn't realized this until a few years ago when I started having the conversations with people. And I had this conversation with someone who he, for work, what he does is he is a magician, and he's a very, very good one. And we were sitting down and talking about what he does and like what the real result is. I don't know if you've heard about the 5 whys. I think it was from the founder of Toyota, who came up with this, like you ask why 5 times, like why something's happening to get to the root cause analysis. And so we kind of went through this, and I warned him ahead of time, which I hopefully most of the time do with people, to say like, we're going to really drill down to this. And I don't want to sound like a toddler, but I'm going to ask you why 5 times. And so we said like, okay, so why do, like, we figured out who we wanted to work with. Okay, why? Like, why does this person want to hire you? Okay, for this reason. Okay, well, why? Like, why does that matter to them? For this reason. And we followed it and realized like what he actually does and what he loves to do is corporate change by breaking the ice from like how people, like breaking people out of the boxes they're stuck in with how they think by way of magic. And it was like, whoa, like that's the difference between like being the person who's walking like the event floor at like at a one of the like a trade show floor versus, or like weddings, like a wedding reception, versus like a keynote speaker at a major like pivotal moment for a big company. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
And the price point is a huge difference too. And he had so much more he could be doing with his business and wanted to do, was really good at, but was kind of missing it because he was in his mind thinking that he was like the wedding entertainment at the reception.
That's cool. I love the 5 whys. I do that with my clients too. I'm like, and I love that you described it as a toddler. So I was like, it totally reminds me of a toddler because why? Like my kids ask me why like 5 million times a day. And I'm like, just because I said so.
Right. And that frustration can happen when you do it.
Oh, absolutely. Because we're so used to like, just like coming up with an answer and using that surface level. Primarily when I use like the 5 why technique is like when we're dealing with like digging into who our ideal clients are. Like, I'm like, so if your ideal client can't sleep at 2:00 in the morning and they have insomnia, what are they thinking about? And then I'm like, well, why does that matter? And then read what you wrote and then ask yourself again, why does that matter? And then like dig deep and that, but when you dig down to like that, when you get down there 5 times, and it can be so annoying to ask why 5 times, but that's where like the goodness is. That's where people like go, oh, that's what my ideal client is really struggling with. Like, it's not that they're waking up at 2 a.m. thinking about whatever it is they're thinking about. It's because of this, this, and this. And like, they're like, oh, it's like that light bulb goes off. Back to that light bulb. The light bulb goes off. Thank goodness we have light bulbs, right? 1,000 tries and 1,000 times later, like we're able to like have that big aha moment. And that's when like you can find so much magic. So
and that's what like people are making decisions from an emotional place. And it's often like there's an emotionally like tied root cause going on there. Something's like really happening that they need to address. And if you can get down to what that is, then your copy, but also like everything that you do is going to be so much more powerful because you're showing that you really understand your people.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So I just want to ask another success question because I just think it's fascinating to hear like what people think about success. So I'm curious for you, if you could like describe what success means for you, just like overall, like what is, or like success for your business actually, like what does success mean for your business?
Yeah, that's a good question. You have so many good questions. If you were to ask me that 2 years ago, I would have said, oh, I need to hit this like dollar amount of income and I have to have this many clients signed and I like this means success. And after doing a lot of work, but really looking at what success does mean to me, I realized that it really means the number of people I can help. Like if I can help 20 people this month figure out the copy that helps them open doors to new clients with just a new, what I call opening statement, like your introduction sentence or two, that's amazing. And it doesn't mean I have to have them as, they're in the door signed paying clients, but if I can help 20 people and it takes me like 4 hours, that's amazing. And I'm so happy with that. And so I found that like, the more people I can help, the happier I am and the more successful I feel, even if it isn't looking like that necessarily on a spreadsheet. And the really funny part is that the more people you're helping, the more it helps the bottom line of your business anyway.
Yeah.
It brings more clients in the door no matter what, because you are helping people. And that is going so much further for your business.
Yeah. And when you have like, it's so rewarding when you are able to give back and help other people accomplish their goals. Like, yeah, the money's nice and we have to have money to like make the world go round. And like, we can use that income to help our communities and to help other women grow their businesses and different things like that. But just that, like knowing that like you made a difference in the world is huge. So I love that. So as we kind of start to wrap things up today, I always ask some rapid fire questions just for fun to kind of get to know all my guests and make it an even playing field for like how people answer these questions. And also because I'm super nosy and I just want to know these answers for myself. But I'm curious, do you have a morning routine? And if so, what is it?
Yes. I get up, make a cup of coffee, eat a banana, and my kids are at the door, and take care of what's going on with them, because they're often up when I am or shortly after.
Yeah. I love that you have a coffee and a banana. That's so smart to have like something in your belly first thing in the morning. I'm like just a straight coffee drinker in the morning. I don't usually eat right away, but I'm like, oh, a banana would be good. That's a good idea.
Need something. I need something else with the coffee.
Yeah, I'm not a huge breakfast person unless it's the weekend, and that's when my husband cooks breakfast. Like he's our breakfast cooker in the house. Like I can make breakfast, but I much prefer somebody else to make it for me. So
yeah, me too.
usually I'm like Monday through Friday, I'm like, there's cereal, there's a bagel, there's some waffles. What would you like?
Grab something.
Yeah. Awesome. And so I'm curious, who is the person that you would say has made the biggest impact and influence on your life, and why?
Oh, it's rapid fire, man.
First person that pops to your head. Who pops to your head?
Oh my gosh. I do think of Jenny Shee, who is the person that one of the first people I started working with in a program with. And I've loved being part of her program as one of the coaching team. So I'd say probably I've learned so much from her and from the other people that she's brought onto the coaching team. So I'd say probably Jenny Shee.
Awesome. And tell me about your happy space. Like when you need to reset, recharge, reflect, and like kind of just like go inward. What do you like to do? Where do you like to go? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, it looks like my running shoes. I need to get on my running shoes and ideally head out the door. This summer it's been 2020, it's been pandemic, so there have been no races. I'm a big racer for half marathons often, and I haven't been able to do a race for a year now. But just putting on my running shoes and hitting the road, I love it. And the fresh air and first thing in the morning. So now my routine is coffee, banana, take care of the kids. In the summertime, my routine was often wake up at 4:30 before the sun comes up, get my running shoes on and head out the door. And that's just my happy place. I love it up there.
I always say that I wish I loved to run. Like I'm not a runner at all, but I love, like I'm a walker. I like to go outside and go for walks, but I wish I could run. I wish I was a runner. I'm never going to be,
Walking
but
is great too.
I always joke. I'm like, if I'm ever running, like run because there's a bear or something crazy, because I just don't run. But I love that you do that.
I'm fast.
Yeah. And my last question for you, and I know it's a little bit different right now because I can't actually do this, but if I gave you a ticket to anywhere in the world, where would you go? And what would you do? Like, where would you like to visit or travel to?
Yeah. I really think I'd love to go to Ireland. Really. Like I have a lot of ancestors from Ireland, and in our family, we've always talked about family traditions and how this comes from Ireland and this comes from Ireland. And then I started doing some ancestry research and realized that it's actually very Irish American what our Irish family traditions are. And so I feel like I'd love to go there and just it's very American really. But I'd like to go there and just kind of feel for what is authentic, get a feel for what it is like, realizing that it's modern Ireland and not when my ancestors left.
Yeah.
But just to feel for it, I think it'd be really fun.
Yeah. I always tell my guests that I'll go with you because I would love to go. Actually, Ireland's actually on my bucket list. That's actually one of the places that I would love to go. I'm like, I want to go try some of the beer and go to the pubs and see all the green, because every time I watch a movie, if they like Ireland or Scotland or any of those places, I'm always like, oh yeah, I need to go, because I have my ancestor tree goes back there too. And I'm like, I want to go get back to my roots and I want to see what it's actually like there. Because, we watch the movies and we see what we are shown. Like, who knows if it's actually anything like what it actually is like there. So I want to go see for myself.
Yeah, me too. And it sounds really weird, but so I'm a natural redhead. I want to walk around and see where there are a lot of other redheads too. And I feel like Ireland might be a good place to start.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Right? Like, I feel like I'm kind of a like odd sort of minority where like I'm naturally redhead and like that's me. But just to see other people who look like me, I think that'd be really cool too.
Oh, so now we have to go for sure, just so we can count the number of redheads that we find along the way. So that would be fun. We could make a game of it, and we'll have to obviously travel everywhere there so that we can play this game. So
Oh yeah, totally.
that's fun though. I bet you there. I know a lot of people that are Irish. A lot of like people in their family. There is a lot of redheads. Like my husband's family is Irish.
Yeah.
His sister's a redhead. My husband has like red in his beard and in his hair. You can't ever tell because he usually has it colored. But so yeah, I bet you there's probably more than you can even imagine. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, this is
it's funny you bring up
what's that?
It's funny you bring up the red in the beard because a lot of men have it show up in their beard if they have Irish ancestry, but not on top of their head.
Not on their hair. Yeah. No, he has like the red and like the dark brown and then the gray that's coming in with it too. But yeah, he definitely has like that reddish auburny type color in his beard. So, but yeah, this has been so fun, Kristina. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey and your story. And I know people are going to want to connect with you. Where should we send them? Is there a social media place you like to hang out? Do you have a website? Give us all the things.
Yeah. Awesome. I'd love to. So my website is truebluemarketing.co, not .com. And if you go to truebluemarketing.co/attract, I have my small business website copy guide there, which is a freebie I'd like to offer anybody who is listening. But also, if you want to catch up with me on Instagram, I'm Kristina F. Green on Instagram, Kristina with a K. And on Facebook is my business, True Blue Marketing LLC.
Awesome. And I know you mentioned the guide to go to trueblue.co/attract. Tell us a little bit about what they get when they download that.
Sure. So the small business website copy guide is a combination of a bunch of different guides that I had that were working for so many different small business owners. And I realized that everybody kind of needs all of them at some point. So I put together where to put copy on your about page, where to put copy on your home page, that scratch doc piece, how to know when you heard something enough to update certain pages, because it, you want to update, say, your services page before another page and like kind of the order where it goes, but also my blog list, how to start or restart your blog. And when I share, like, how do you collect your topics? How do you keep it going? How do you find things after you run out of your topics list? Which I know content creation can be a huge thing for a lot of small business owners, especially after you get going and then stall and need to keep going a little bit more. So it's all in this one guide. I believe it's 15 pages. So it's a lot of content there, all for small business owners and around updating the copy on their website.
Awesome. I will make sure that the link is below in the show notes. So if you didn't grab it, or if you want to come back and grab it later, the link will be below. But Kristina, thank you so much. This was so fun to have you here. I so appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's a wrap for the Attract and Stand Out podcast. I will see you guys soon. Have an amazing week.